This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of our series, The Science of Personal Change. Transform Your Behavior. In this episode, titled Why Change Fails, The Science of Habit, we'll explore the key reasons why so many of our attempts at change don't stick. Get ready to uncover the science behind our habits and learn how to set yourself up for success. Let's dive in. About half of what you'll do today, you won't actually decide to do. You'll just do it. Walking into the kitchen, opening a familiar app, saying yes when you meant not this time. The mystery isn't why change is hard, it's why our autopilot keeps winning. That quiet conflict between your plans and your patterns isn't a personal flaw, it's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Deep inside, the basal ganglia is constantly looking for ways to save energy by turning repeated actions into fast, bundled routines. Over time, your brain chunks the steps of getting ready for bed, checking your phone, or reaching for a snack, so they fire off with minimal effort or awareness. That's efficient, but there's a catch. These neural shortcuts don't care whether the routine serves your long-term goals, only that it has worked consistently in the past. So when you announce a big change, new diet, new schedule, new leadership style, you're not starting on a blank slate. You're walking into territory where older, faster circuits already have the home field advantage. That home field advantage shows up in how much of life runs on repeat. Studies suggest 40 to 45% of what you do each day is habitual, triggered more by where you are and what's around you than by what you intend. Environmental cues quietly nudge old patterns online: the glow of your phone at night, the meeting room where you always defer, the colleague who brings pastries. Change fails so often not because goals are weak, but because contexts stay the same. Your brain sees the familiar setting and fires the familiar script, even while you're busy promising yourself you'll do it differently this time. Change collapses so often because we aim it at the wrong layer. We try to upgrade motivation while leaving the underlying loops untouched. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is whatever reliably precedes the behavior, the routine is what you actually do, and the reward is the felt payoff your brain tags as worth repeating: relief, stimulation, comfort, closure. Most resolutions attack only the routine. Don't snack at night. Stop checking email in bed. But if the cue, 10 p.m. on the couch, phone on the nightstand, and the reward, soothing boredom, numbing stress, stay intact, your older loop keeps winning. It's not that you lack discipline, it's that you're trying to run new software on unchanged settings. 3 findings from habit research matter here. First, timing. That 21 days rule is folklore. In Lally's study, simple habits like drinking water with lunch automated in about 66 days on average, but some people needed nearly 8 months. Early slips didn't ruin the process. Consistency over the long arc did the heavy lifting. Change fails when people interpret a bad week as proof it didn't work, instead of data on where the loop is fragile. Second, context. Neal and Wood showed that when people were moved out of their usual environments, many bad habits simply vanished, without extra willpower. The loop wasn't powered by desire alone, it was wired into place, time, people, and objects. Keep those constant and your brain keeps rebooting the same script. Third, competition, not erasure. Old circuits don't get deleted, they get outcompeted. Think of a scar. The tissue is still there, but most days you don't notice it unless something irritates it. Under stress, though, dormant loops flare back up. That's why you can fall back into a pattern you haven't practiced in years the moment you're tired, overwhelmed, or back in the old setting. Effective change, then, is less about heroic self-control and more about strategic redesign. You don't just vow, "I'll exercise more." You decide, which cue will trigger it: alarm, calendar alert, walking through the front door, which specific routine you'll default to, and what immediate reward will make your brain say, "Let's do that again." When people build change at this granular level, and give it enough repetitions in stable contexts, the failure rate looks very different from that mid-February cliff. A leader I coached kept forgetting to give her team feedback. She didn't lack courage. Her loop was simple. Cue, end of meeting. Routine, rushing to the next task. Reward, feeling productive. We didn't ask her to be more intentional. We inserted a tiny competing loop. When the meeting timer hit 0, she'd ask one question: "What did we learn?" before anyone stood up. The cue stayed, the routine shifted. The reward became visible progress and appreciation. Within 2 months, her team described her as way more present, though she'd only added 3 to 4 minutes per meeting. You can do the same with personal change. Want to read more? Instead of "I'll read at night," tie it to a precise cue. Mug hits the table at breakfast. Phone stays in another room. Book opens for 5 pages. The reward isn't becoming well-read. It's the micro-pleasure of a calmer start to the day. Like adjusting seasoning in a dish, you're not rebuilding your life, just tweaking the conditions so the desired pattern becomes the easiest thing to repeat. Most resolutions don't die from lack of desire. They die from poor architecture. We redesign goals but leave the daily microstructures untouched. Who we're with, what's on our screens, how our spaces are arranged. As sensing tech spreads, your calendar, watch, and even car could start collaborating to surface just-in-time prompts, like a smart thermostat quietly rebalancing the climate. Your challenge this week? Pick one stubborn pattern and change only the setting around it, not your effort. So the real leverage isn't in trying harder, it's in quietly tilting the floor under your feet. Treat your day like a kitchen you're constantly rearranging. What sits on the counter gets used, what's buried in the back rarely does. The more you experiment with placement of tools, people, prompts, the more your future behavior starts to feel like the natural next step. To go deeper, here are 3 next steps. 1. Install a habit tracking app like Streaks or Habitify and set up one specific friction-reduced habit the episode mentioned. For example, putting your running shoes by the door to support an automatic morning walk. Let the app remind you daily and review the streak graph tonight. 2. Grab a copy of Atomic Habits by James Clear or Good Habits, Bad Habits by Wendy Wood, and read just the chapter on cue, routine, reward, so you can map one current failure to change to that loop before bed. 3. Use a website blocker like Freedom or Stay Focused to create a 25-minute no-distraction window tomorrow, dedicated solely to setting up your environment for the new habit, laying out objects, preloading apps, or arranging your space exactly as the podcast described for making habits more automatic. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!